What's happening, Guardians? This video is focused on a few things that will help you make the decision between those two awesome weapons when you're not sure which one fits your playing style the best. We'll go over each stat quickly and briefly. If you're wanting to know about just one stat in particular, take a look in the comments section below for the time in this video that your stat is explained. To start off, how do these stats help me? Well, each stat lends itself to a certain playstyle, and subsequently, each stat about a weapon that you understand well will help you utilize its strengths in certain situations. As an example, your weapon has terrible recoil, a high rate of fire, and a high impact. You should get much closer to your enemies for quick and easy kills, and you know that being too far away won't lend you any shots. So, understanding these stats will heavily affect your combat choices, and also which weapon you'll choose to stick with. From the top, rate of fire. This applies to weapon types depending on their fire style. For fully auto weapons, this is basically how fast each successive bullet sprays out of your barrel as you're mowing down the armies of the darkness. For semi-autos, which includes nearly every other weapon but fusion rifles, the higher the fire rate, the faster you can pull the trigger. Charge time. This is the fusion rifle's version of rate of fire, though it describes the time it takes to charge the shot. Damage seems to be related to this stat, meaning that the longer the charge time, the higher the damage. Impact and attack. Here's a tricky one that confused me for a long time. It turns out that impact is very simple. It's the base damage dealt per shot. Now, how does that relate to attack? Look at it this way. You want both impact and attack. A higher attack will allow you to take on higher level enemies without lowering damage dealt. Don't stress about this one too much. Like most of the stats, the higher the better, for both. Range. Surprise! This has nothing to do with zoom. This stat affects damage dealt within a certain distance. This is the minimum distance that your weapon can deal its full damage. This also affects the possible spread, or bloom, your shot will experience when hip firing. Another stat affected by range is accuracy for obvious reasons. Something you need to know about range is that when a sight is equipped and your ADS, or aim down sights, the range is multiplied by the sight zoom stat. If your weapon sight is 1.75 multiplied, then your range will be multiplied by 1.75 as well. It can be helpful to unequip a sight when you know you'll be doing close range combat. This will help the handling characteristics of your weapon in close range. Stability. This has to do with the weapon kick or jerk when aimed down the sights, or ADS. Though this affects the view kick when hip firing, it does not affect bloom or spread, which is controlled by range. This is a very important stat to take into account, because without stability, you can't land those precision shots, and you'll deal less damage overall. In some cases, you may be better off with a higher stability weapon with a lower attack and impact than an incredibly unstable weapon. Recoil. This stat differs from stability in that it affects the direction of the kick. A gun with bad recoil can shoot you left and right, while a better stat might have a more natural ascending recoil. Whether or not you can handle high recoil is up to your playstyle. Reload. Do we need to explain this one? Speed of reload can affect several situations. In PvE, this might not be the biggest problem, but if you're taking forever to reload in PvP, consider yourself a dead Guardian. Remember, the animation for reload takes longer than your actual reload. If you sprint, change weapons, or do anything to interrupt the reload sequence after your HUD signals that you've reloaded, then you can essentially improve your reload time. This is called reload canceling. It can take a bit of practice, but can mean a world of difference in some situations. Magazine. This stat is simply the amount of ammo that your weapon can fire before reloading. Don't think that magazine is a throwaway stat though. I spent a while debating between a low impact, high rate of fire auto rifle with a 63 magazine and a high impact, low rate auto rifle with around 32 magazine and a higher attack. They both catered to specific playstyle and were essentially both very effective weapons. I ultimately decided my control and aim wasn't fitting with the high fire rate and had to choose the latter. Another Guardian though might have made a very different choice. Blast radius. This is a rocket launcher stat. Imagine that around the point of explosion for a fired rocket, there is a bubble. At the middle of this bubble, or at the point of explosion, that is where the highest damage is given. From there, the damage falls off toward the edge of the bubble until there's no damage done. Enemies within this bubble will be dealt the appropriate amount of damage according to the proximity to the point of the explosion. A higher blast radius increases the bubble. Velocity. This is another stat that involves only rocket launchers, although fusion rifles have a hidden velocity stat affected by their range. For rocket launchers, this stat simply affects the speed at which the rocket travels. If you're good at predicting a target's position, then a low velocity might be worth a higher blast radius. But if you can't hit a Cabal Centurion for beans, then you might be looking for a high velocity launcher. Handling. There are 3 different children's stats wrapped up within this one, but to keep it simple, the higher the handling, the quicker you'll be able to pull up your sights, switch to the weapon, and switch from the weapon. Basically, your weapon's movement with respect to holding it improves if your handling is higher. There are mods that allow for some of these stats to be augmented either passively or dependent on a trigger of some kind, like a melee kill. Optics. This involves how your weapon class zooms by default. Shotguns zoom in at 1.2 times, auto rifles, fusion rifles, and machine guns zoom in at 1.5 times. Hand cannons and pulse rifles are 1.7 times, rocket launchers and scout rifles are 2 times, and snipers are 4 times. Any mod on top of this default stat only adds to it, it doesn't replace it. And the last one, inventory max ammo. This is the maximum amount of ammunition you can hold in reserve for a weapon. This stat can be modified or increased by gear or armor upgrades. Thanks for watching. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more Destiny content from Killworthy Gaming. Killworthy out.